Stepdaughter wanted me to buy her a car for her birthday and threw a public temper tantrum when I gave her a phone and called me a deadbeat loser, comparing me to her rich bio dad. But she's crying and begging for forgiveness now that her stuff is on the streets and she has no college fund anymore. I've been married to my wife for the past 8 years, and before that we had been together for 2 years. For the past 4 years my wife has had full custody of her daughter. Let's call her Gabby. We celebrated Gabby's 18th birthday last week, and unfortunately it did not go according to plan. For context, in the past few months leading up to her birthday she had been hinting that she really wanted a car. She's about to head out to college in a couple of months and she already has her license. She's been practicing with her mom's car and she's ready to drive. But money has been a bit tight recently for us since I've started my own business venture and we need to be cautious. Usually it's her biological father Peter who handles all these bigger expenses, but he had refused to buy Gabby a car. I'll get to the reasons later, but first I'll talk about what happened at the party. So since it was her 18th we wanted to make it a big deal. Her mom and I went out of our way to invite all her friends and our families, some of our neighbors, and there were a lot of people there. We had even rented out a venue and had a local band play live music for her. It was all pretty expensive, but we were willing to do that for her because we knew that we couldn't exactly buy her a car right now. However, her mother and I did get the brand new iPhone because we figured that she would appreciate it. And Peter got her the AirPods, so I didn't think that she would have anything to be unhappy about. But after cutting the cake, when we handed her the box and she unwrapped it and then realized that it was actually just a phone and there were no car keys inside, she totally started freaking out at us. She tossed the phone aside and went off on a full-blown rant about how unfair all of this was since she was 18, and all her friends were getting cars for their birthdays and some of them had even been driving since they were 16, and yet we couldn't do this one little thing for her. While she was having a meltdown I could see that my wife was getting annoyed and she's a bit short-tempered, so I decided to intervene. I figured that I could try at least reason with Gabby so that she wouldn't continue yelling at us publicly because it was pretty embarrassing and better than having my wife deal with it and having both of them start screaming at each other. I felt like I could diffuse the situation, so I was trying to calm her down, but then she turned on me and told me that she didn't even want to talk to me anymore because I was just a deadbeat loser who was relying on my ex-wife's rich husband for money. That was not even where she stopped. She went on to tell me that my business venture was apparently just me having a midlife crisis, and she couldn't believe that because of that her mother had decided to put her priorities on hold. I was literally shocked, and that's when her mom started screaming at her about her behavior, so she threw a few choice curse words at us and then stormed out of the venue. I honestly had no clue how to react to any of this for the next couple of minutes because I was just so embarrassed. Once this incident took place, the vibe of the evening was ruined and things were wrapped up pretty quickly. We had to send all our guests home with packed dinners and a huge apology for whatever had happened. It was humiliating. After everyone left, we decided to finally go home, and we had initially figured that after she stormed out, Gabby must have left to go home, but she wasn't there, and her mom started panicking because it had been almost an hour and a half since she had left the party. And we tried to call her. She didn't pick up though. She just texted back a few missed calls later and just told us that she was staying over at a friend's place. When we asked her which friend, because as far as we knew all her friends had been invited to the party and hadn't been home when she left, she told us that it was none of our business, and after that we did not try texting her anymore. People might call us irresponsible, but we had had enough for one day. We were already very upset with her. My wife and I could not tolerate this kind of behavior anymore, and after some discussion we decided to call Peter up so we could decide what to do about this situation at hand. He had unfortunately had to skip the party because he lives in Singapore for his job and had recently had an ankle injury, which is why he hadn't been present in person. But before anybody jumps to conclusions, he stays in a different time zone, which means that he couldn't stay on FaceTime for the whole thing and did not witness the freakout that Gabby had when she realized that she was not getting a car for her birthday. He just wished her a happy birthday, sang along with us while Gabby was cutting the cake, and then he was gone because it was somewhere around 3 or 4 a.m. there. And he's not an absent father either. He comes back here every 2 months to spend time with Gabby. He also has a great relationship with me and my wife since they had a pretty amicable divorce. Basically, what I'm trying to say is that we have a very cohesive co-parenting situation, and I guess that will explain a lot of things that I'm about to say. Anyway, after we called him we explained everything to him about what had happened at the party, and even he was shocked that his daughter had behaved this way, because even though she had been kind of bratty in the past, she had never behaved like this in public. However, at the party she crosses a line in a way that cannot be taken back, and after a really long discussion, her parents and I decided that something had to be done because the things that she had said were unacceptable. So even though it was very difficult for all of us, we decided we were going to have to cut ties with her for a while since she had become a little too materialistic for her own good. After speaking to Peter, we packed her stuff up from her room, put it in boxes, and placed it on our lawn for her to find in the morning. Peter sent her an email telling her that she had decided not to give her access to her college fund. So now she would have to work her way through college or take out a student loan, but either way she would have to deal with it herself because the way she had behaved at the party was disgusting. When she came back home the next morning after her birthday, she was in for a pretty nasty shock, and of course she threw another temper tantrum after she came back and saw all her stuff lying in boxes outside. She started threatening us, telling us that we couldn't do this to her, but she was not a minor anymore. And after her behavior, we did not want her to stay with us. At one point, she told me and my wife that she was going to tell her dad about all of this, and then we would be screwed. So we had better lawyer up. We realized that she had probably not checked her email by then, so we told her to do that. And a couple of minutes later, the sobbing and weeping started. We had decided not to open the door to her because we did not want to engage with her too much, but we could see her through the windows, and I'm talking serious snot and tears kind of crying. But we had made up our minds, so we told her that she had to clear out with her stuff. She begged us not to do this for a couple of minutes more, but then when we didn't respond, she made a phone call. And within a couple of minutes, I saw one guy showing up with a pickup truck, and they finally started moving, and soon they were gone. We haven't seen that guy before, but I'm assuming that that's the friend whom she had spent the previous night with. It's been a couple of days since then, and we haven't spoken to her or heard from her. We obviously feel bad about what has happened, and we wish that we could have dealt with it in any other way. But honestly, she had been acting out for a really long time. The only difference was that she had been doing it privately and this incident happened in public. Now this is the reason Peter did not want her to get a car for her birthday. As we said, Gabby has been acting out a lot recently, which meant that she had also been going out to a lot of high school parties, and unfortunately there was a lot of underage drinking at these parties. We had tried to stop her. We had explained to her nicely that this was not right and had even tried to enforce rules and stuff by grounding her, but she didn't seem to care. And that's why we did not want her to get a car, because he was afraid that she might try to drive while drunk, and that would definitely not end well. We could totally understand where that was coming from. And besides the finances, that was another reason why we did not want her to get a car right now. Maybe in the future we would be fine with it, but as of now, even though she had been hinting that she wanted a car for a really long time, we had been ignoring those hints for the right reasons. Anyway, this is how it has been, and for the longest time we tried to be nice to her, but since it didn't work, we had to take this drastic step and kick her out of the house so she would at least take a lesson from this. It's not like we are enjoying this, but it had to be done, and that's what I have been trying to explain to my in-laws. But unfortunately, my wife's parents are extremely upset with us for letting her go, especially when we told them that she left with a guy we had never seen before. They told us we are being extremely irresponsible as parents and that this is not the correct way to deal with a teenager who has been a bit problematic to deal with. They think that sending her away is only going to create more distance between us, and then she's not even going to come back, so we need to reach out to her and bring her back and also apologize for overreacting. After speaking to them, even my wife started feeling differently and said that she wanted to bring her back and apologize to her because after all, she's just a kid. But I don't agree with that because she literally just turned 18. And I don't think that falls under the category of being a kid anymore. Besides, she has been behaving very strangely for a while now, and I think at some point she needs to face the consequences. We have spoken to Peter about this and he agrees with me, but my wife has been adamant that we need to talk to Gabby and bring her back. AITA for not wanting to bring my stepdaughter back home after she got kicked out by us for being disrespectful towards me at her birthday party? Update 1. So we went through all the comments and we decided to get back in touch with Gabby. Maybe she did need to learn a lesson, but honestly, on a personal level, both Peter and I have been feeling extremely iffy about how we dealt with the situation. Of course, my wife has also been trying to talk us into this, but it took us a while to accept the fact that maybe we had been a little too harsh on Gabby. We are not saying that she's actually a kid and she doesn't deserve to be reprimanded, but honestly, the more that we think about the strange guy that she drove off with, the more worried we feel about her. We can't help it. I have seen her grow up and right in front of my eyes, and of course her biological parents are definitely going to try and look out for the best. So she does need to be disciplined, but I don't think that this is the right way to do it. She has been a brat. She has been out of control in recent times, but I think that if we sit her down and speak to her and get to the bottom of us, somehow we're going to find it easier to fix everything for her rather than alienating her and leaving her to deal with everything on her own. So after a couple of discussions with my wife and Peter, we decided to send her a message telling her that we would really want her to come back. It's been close to 9 days since the party, and we sent the message a couple of days back. So far, we haven't heard back from her, but we have tried calling her and emailing her as well. She hasn't been responding to us, which is valid because she's probably very upset with us. We know that she's well because we have spoken to a couple of her friends, and they have told us that she has been active on social media. So at least we know that she's doing fine. However, she hasn't told any of her friends where she actually is, and all that they know is that she's staying with somebody, and I'm assuming it's that guy. We are all keeping our fingers crossed that hopefully that guy is a good person and not a weirdo or a creep of some sort. Hopefully she calls off soon and calls us back because we are getting really worried about her. All of us could have dealt with this situation better, and I guess I have to say it. Our family has been going through a lot right now. I think all of us just really need to calm down and start thinking about each other more. Until then, my wife and I are going to keep trying to get in touch with her, and so is Peter. Update 2. So Gabby finally got back in touch with us. It has been 3 days since our last update, and today, she sent us a message saying that she was doing well. She was staying with her boyfriend. We didn't even know that she had a boyfriend before this, but we guessed. If she was living with a guy, it had to be her boyfriend, and she told us that they had been dating for the past couple of months but hadn't been able to tell us about their relationship because she was afraid of how we would react to that. We don't generally have a problem with her dating, but this guy, I can see why she didn't tell us about him so far. Apparently, he's 22 years old, a college dropout, and is finding himself currently. This just means that he's living off of daddy's money and doesn't have any plans of striking out on his own, at least not anytime soon, and she's in love with him. She wants to marry him in the next few months, and she was sure that we would never approve of her relationship like this because, obviously, there is a significant age gap. It's just 4 years, but she's just 18. In fact, she wasn't even 18 when recently she was just 17 and he was 22 years old. Being a guy in his 20s, it's already pretty gross that he's dating a high schooler. This relationship also explains why she had been acting out so much recently. I guess she had been trying to fit in with his friends and act older than her age or something, but whatever her reasons were, it was not good for her. And at least she has realized that even though she doesn't seem to understand that her boyfriend is not the right fit for her either, she has apologized to us for yelling at us at the party and ruining everything. She knew we had put in a lot of effort and spent a lot of money to make her happy, and she had been very ungrateful for all of that. So she totally deserved what we did, and she wasn't going to complain about it. She also told us that she was sorry about all the drinking and disobeying the rules because it had been pretty ungrateful of her too since we had raised her and expected her to behave well with us, but she had let us down in the worst way possible. There was a specific apology for me as well where she told me that she was really sorry for humiliating me and comparing me to her dad. She said that it had happened in the heat of the moment, and in reality, she respects both of us equally. And then she started explaining her plans for the future after apologizing, which is why we are extremely concerned right now because they're not good plans, at least in our opinion. So she thinks that she and her boyfriend are going strong. And like I said, they plan on getting married by the end of the year. His dad plans on funding it since Gabby already knows that her own family is never going to approve of a wedding like this. So funding it is out of the question. It's bad enough that she's planning this, but apparently, the reason that she wanted a car for her birthday was because she wanted to give her future husband that as a gift. And they planned on becoming an influencer couple who travel and promote a certain kind of wanderlust lifestyle. She basically has her entire future charted out with this guy. She even mentioned that she's going to plan on having kids next year, which is a nightmare in itself. And the worst part is she's going to skip college so she can be with him. He doesn't think that going to college is necessary because you learn life lessons on the road itself and no college can teach you how to become successful. Generic BS like that. He's a bit of a travel bug and that's what they plan on creating content around. She's even mentioned that she was very upset about losing the college fund because she was planning on using that money to finance their plans in the beginning. And later on, when they started growing, they would be able to handle the finances themselves. The fund was supposed to be her seed money, but she told us not to worry. She has everything planned out, and she's going to be fine. She ended the message by apologizing to all of us once again, and she told us that hopefully in the future, we would be able to reconcile and make things right. And in a while, we would be receiving wedding invitations from her as well. After reading that, we were not even sure if we were speaking to the same Gabby that we had raised because instead of sounding like a headstrong and self-sufficient young woman, she sounded like she had forgotten all about the values that she had learned and had completely based her life around this guy. We were sufficiently disturbed by the fact that she was with somebody in his 20s with no prospects and who thought that becoming a travel influencer couple was a valid plan for the future. This guy hadn't even been to college. It was very obvious that he was up to no good and we couldn't allow Gabby to waste her life with him. So we responded to her immediately after she sent that message and we told her that we wanted to meet her and talk to her in person because this was something serious. And luckily, she agreed. She sent us her address, basically, the address of the place her boyfriend was staying, and we immediately started driving there while filling Peter in on the way. He was also obviously very concerned about what was going on because this did not seem good. Anyway, it took us 45 minutes to get there because it was slightly far away. But when we finally did, she looked very happy to welcome us and took us up to her and her boyfriend's apartment. It was really messy, and it was pretty obvious that her boyfriend was high because they had tried to hide the bong, but they couldn't succeed. Anyway, We knew that yelling was going to make her mad, so we decided to speak to her calmly. We told her that she was just 18. She didn't have to make so many decisions about her life so quickly and she had so much time ahead of her. She could take time, think about what she wanted to do with her life and then decide. There was no rush, and we told her that we would be glad to take her back in and help her out. But even that offended her, and she told us that she had already made up her mind about what she wanted to do. She wanted to get married to her boyfriend, start a family, and start vlogging about their life as a traveling couple. In fact, they already had their first trip planned this weekend, and she told me that she was not going to let us ruin it for her. We tried to reason with her as calmly as possible, but she was quite firm about what she wanted. And eventually, she asked us to leave. Her mom put her foot down and said that she was not going anywhere without taking her daughter with her, and that led to a huge fight between my wife and Gabby. I tried to intervene and calm things down because I knew we couldn't exactly take Gabby home by force. She was an adult, and she knew what she wanted to do. We did not have a legal leg to stand on here, and if she wanted to, she could have us evicted. That would end up leading nowhere. So I was trying to defuse the situation again. Thankfully, at least this time, nobody tried to humiliate me. Anyway, my wife ended up calling Peter and demanding that he knock some sense into his daughter, but Gabby did not even entertain the conversation. She just turned her face away and refused to speak to him. After a while, we realized that we had to go because her boyfriend had started looking annoyed, and he had said that we needed to either keep it down or he would have to ask us to leave, and there was no way that I was letting that no-good idiot call the cops on us, so I convinced my wife to leave. We still haven't managed to hear back from Gabby because we have been texting her and trying to get in touch with her, but she hasn't been responding. So things haven't exactly gone our way, but we are still hoping for the best. I'm not one for religion, but please keep us in your prayers. I think we really need it at this time. Update 3. So it has been 4 days since our last update, and the day before yesterday, we found out that we had been blocked. We couldn't call her. We couldn't text her. We couldn't find her on any social media platforms either. It's been a really emotional time for my wife and me, and on top of that, Peter has been very upset, but he can't even fly out here because of his injuries. So he has been pretty absent, and I can tell that everybody's really frustrated right now. We have been trying to find out what Gabby has been up to by speaking to her friends, and they have told us that she has been pretty active on social media, which makes sense because right now, she's standing on creating a career out of that. None of us are very active on social media, but since we are now actively seeking out information about Gabby, we have found out from a couple of her friends that apart from the account that we used to follow, she also has another account that she runs with her boyfriend, and it has already amassed around 3,000 followers. I guess she must have either blocked us from there in the beginning itself, or she probably kept it very well hidden from us. And, obviously, since her friends wanted to be loyal to her, they did not tell us about it. But now that we have explained the situation to everyone, I guess they understand how serious it is, and they have been telling us what she's been up to. Apparently, she has been hanging out with him and his friends a lot, and my guess was correct. She had been acting out and doing stuff to fit in with him and his group of friends. So she was going out to clubs and parties on a regular basis, drinking, smoking, whatnot. They haven't been stupid enough to post it, but I'm pretty sure that she has been getting high with him as well. I mean, at his house, that guy was literally struggling to hide a bong from plain view. So I'm guessing that she was a part of that as well, but decided not to get high that day because she knew that we were going to show up. It's just been incredibly disappointing and disheartening, but we don't really know what to do at the moment. She's not a minor anymore, and we have to keep reminding ourselves of that because we can't exactly storm into the apartment and ask her to come back with us because she's ruining her life. All we can do is sit and hope for the best, and we feel pretty useless, but as parents there's only a certain extent to which we can control our children and try to do what's best for them. Beyond that, we can't really help them out, and that's a lesson that we have had to learn the hard way. I just hope that she finds her way back to us. Update 4. So it's been 2 weeks since my last update. Gabby finally unblocked us a couple of days after her friends reached out to her and convinced her to do so. I guess everybody can tell that we are really worried for her. But, anyway, we were still not able to sort things out. Unfortunately, she is sticking to her decision and has told us that if we want to, we can be a part of her life, but we have to be supportive of what she's doing, and we cannot just constantly question everything that she decides. She said that she is an adult now and that we need to back off because she can handle her life as it is. She told us that she knows what she wants from her life and that it is a bit unorthodox, but she wants to experiment and she's young so she can afford to do it, and we can't exactly say anything about it because it's not like she's relying on us for anything. I guess that's fair enough. She hasn't asked us to fund her or help her out with finances or anything, neither is she being a burden, but we are obviously still worried for her well-being and future. We tried to get that through to her, but, again, she told us that we needed to back off and she couldn't have this conversation all over again. Peter tried to speak to her as well, but she had the same thing to say to him, and he got pretty upset. So he decided that he was not going to speak to her at all. We can understand where he's coming from, so we have decided that if she wants to contact us for any reason, she can. But other than that, we are not going to be reaching out to her anymore. It seems like she has made up her mind about what she wants to do with her life, and no matter what we say to her, she's not going to change it. So be it then. I guess I'm just gonna have to stand by what I said about controlling your kids. We can't always do what is best for them. Some lessons they have to learn on their own, and of course we do hope that everything works out for the best, but if it doesn't, we will be here for her. For her own good though, I really hope that things work out for her. Other than that, I have nothing else to add anymore. I'm done with all of this. I'm just gonna be focusing on my wife and our relationship now.